So I thought the Oscars were pretty good for a show with no real surprises. I guess the biggest surprises were Ang Lee winning for Best Director and Chris Terrio winning for Argo. But I thought that, it was a nice success story for both films, both Life of Pi and Argo. Let's start with Argo because that was kind of the success story, the Cinderella story that everybody was hoping for. Maybe not even Cinderella, but redemption for Ben Affleck. And I think that was reflected in his speech when he finally got to speak for winning Best Picture. And the thing that struck me the most about his speech was when he said, "Don't hold a grudge." And I think that, Ben Affleck has had a rough time, but he's just done such a wonderful job, and I think he's a shining example of just what he said, that everybody gets knocked down, but what matters is picking yourself up. And he's just, I think, an inspiration to everyone out there working who has a bad time and maybe feels that they've hit a slump, or they're not going to be able to recover. So just remember Ben Affleck and how beautifully he's recovered, and also what his words of wisdom, that you can't always pick yourself up, that it's always great to have someone to help pick you up. And I think he's definitely had that in the industry. So that was fantastic. I loved his speech. I thought the best speeches of the evening were Ben Affleck's for Best Picture for Argo, Daniel Day-Lewis for Best Actor for Lincoln, and also both writers, fittingly, Chris Terrio for Argo and Quentin Tarantino for Django Unchained. Those are the best speeches of the evening. They did a really nice job. And so yes, Argo is a great story of redemption for the industry. And then Life of Pi is also a great story of success. Picked up a lot of awards tonight. Best Director, even though I was in love with the first half of this film, not the entire film. But I do think that Ang Lee's vision was striking. So I think I agree with this choice. But I think that why this is such an important win for Life of Pi is because this is one of those films, I talked about this when my coverage of Oscar season this year. This is the new trend of studios spending a lot of money on potential Oscar winners, for award things, with Hugo last year, or 2 years ago, and then, or I'm sorry, I'm recording this on the fly, but Hugo recently, and then of course Cloud Atlas, which didn't quite make it this year, but then Life of Pi, as we all know, cost over $100 million to make, but it's made its money back, and now it's got the gold to go along with its box office gold, and so that's nice to see, and hopefully this will continue having the studios feel that they don't have to just make small Oscar pictures, that the big budget films are worthy of Oscar campaigns as well. Which I know a lot of people feel that these big budget films don't really get what they deserve. So as for the rest of the telecast, what did I think of it? I have to say that I thought that I was really worried about Seth MacFarlane. I felt that he would maybe go, not do a good job, maybe kind of have bad taste in some areas, but I think that's not the case. I think he did flirt with bad taste, but that's Seth MacFarlane. If you hire him, that's what you're going to get. But I really loved his opening to the show. I loved having Shatner come on. I thought those were great touches. I thought that it gave a burst of energy to the telecast, which it sorely needs because there are no real surprises at this point for the Oscars. And I even loved the little bits that I seemed very Seth MacFarlane-ish. I don't know if they were his idea. Having the Jaws music come on to play out winners, if their speeches went too long, was, I think, a stroke of brilliance. And that was nice about the evening. It really was. It seemed like for the first time, usually when you watch these shows, especially when you watch the Oscars, especially when you're, all involved in the industry or reporting on it, or very, if you're really into the film, sometimes these evenings can be a chore, and they seem also very self-congratulatory, and therefore they can become a little irritating and, annoying. But this was just really, I think, like, it reminded me of just a really nice retrospective of a film, which was very nice to see, and I liked that a lot. I felt that, so the opening was very strong. I liked those little bits, but I did think that some of the things they had promised didn't quite deliver, such as the 50-year Bond, 50 years of Bond celebration. I thought was weak. I think it would have been great to maybe have some, like, all the Bonds show up or something. I think if you're going to do something like that, you need a little bit more than just like a clip reel, which you can see anywhere. I also felt that the Avengers showing up, that bit that didn't work at all, and it wasn't all the Avengers either, so that really didn't see a point in that. And then I thought the closing number that MacFarlane and Kristen Chenoweth did was not worth extending the telecast even longer. It didn't work for me. But but I really did enjoy the show. It was fun to watch, which is, as I just said, unusual for the Oscars. So hats off to Seth MacFarlane. I think that he is going to also become a stronger presence in Hollywood. Also, I think of note, a lot of young talent anointed. You had Anne Hathaway, you have Jennifer Lawrence. That's unusual. for the Oscars is usually more like actors later on in their careers. But the last thing I want to say about this is that, as I said, no real surprises, no big headlines tomorrow. And so I think the Academy is really doing itself a disservice by going last. I know for a long time they felt like, well, we'll save the best for last. But I think they really need to change their release date, and they need to kick off the awards season, because at this point there's just so much telegraphing, because all the guilds that make up the voting blocks have their own award ceremony, so we just really see what's coming. And that means that the morning after, the headlines are dominated by who wore what. I'm sure that Jennifer Lawrence tripping on the stage is going to get a lot of coverage, and I really think that's kind of like the Oscars. The Oscars is a little bit more than that, and it should be more of a trailblazer and discussion leader in terms of the qualities of film, not just kind of like the tabloid gossip. So that's my thought on the Oscars. Did you have fun watching it? What did you think of Seth MacFarlane? Did you think that he ever crossed the line and you couldn't come back? And what do you think of the fact there were no surprises? Are you happy? Did everyone win that you wanted to? Or do you think that maybe they should go first? And also, what did you think of the Oscar speeches? Who were your favorites? Write your thoughts down below, and as well as check out who the BTC audience picked to win in the results of the Oscar poll that we had earlier this year.